Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope you're having a good day. Cold here, as usual. Boy, in Los Angeles, boy, they're getting fires out there. They were showing pictures of the smoke just, hovering in, right over the city. Looks like a scene out of an apocalypse movie. Pretty bad. I mean, I can't imagine the air quality is like terrible. People with lung problems and stuff like that are probably going to have a hell of a time right now out there. But somebody had commented on it that this is wintertime, and usually, I guess they figured that these fires wouldn't start so early, but I guess it's been so terribly dry and hot out there that it was the right conditions for a fire to start. So yeah, so it's pretty bad. And people are out recording and posting videos of different areas of Los Angeles where the fires are. So it's pretty it's shocking, I guess, in a lot of ways, and you hope that people aren't getting hurt or killed out there in that. So I don't know, it's just those are one of the things that kind of pushed me away from the idea of ever wanting to move to that area of the country. I couldn't do it. I imagine getting decent home insurance out there is probably difficult because of the fact they have so many natural disasters out there in a year's time. So yeah. Anyway, last night, I think it was, Netflix began their wrestling WWE broadcast thing on there. I guess like Netflix and the WWE partnered up, and now they have live wrestling on there. I guess I don't know if it's like the way they used to do it back in the '90s, but like on UPN. But they started it last night, and they had a huge audience there. Big event. And Hulk Hogan showed up to basically kick off the fucking event of the night. And Smokey, will you stop it? And he got booed big time. I mean, if there were any cheers, I couldn't hear him, but it was mostly boo, boo. People were pissed when he come out there, and so Smokey, will you cut it out, guys? Right, sit over here. So yeah, I mean, it was really something to behold there, and I saw this online. I didn't see this because I don't subscribe to Netflix anymore after they dropped all their Star Trek content. I said screw them. That was really the big reason why I was subscribing to them, because I could watch all the episodes on their channel. And then Paramount Plus started, and then all of a sudden all that shit got taken off their channel. So I said goodbye, because everything else they had on there I already have in some form or other here I can watch. And their Netflix original content was always a disappointment, because They'd start something and then they'd cancel it. They'd start something else and then they'd cancel it. They were doing that all the time, and I was getting frustrated. I said, you know what, go to hell. So anyway, they started this wrestling thing. And like I said, Hogan come out there to introduce it all, and the crowd was just fucking rabid. I mean, you know. And I was saying, you know, like I've been saying on this show here, every time somebody associates with Donald Trump, they get ruined. And that's an example right there. Another person who threw his hat in the ring alongside Donald Trump, and now his popularity, well, not like it was ever really high, but okay, because he's like, what? He's old. He must be in his 70s or something like that by now, but he's not what's current right now in wrestling. Ooh. And so, you know, he just, he should retire. But he got himself mixed up with politics, and I think that was a mistake for someone whose career has wound down. Getting mixed up in that and then expecting people to love you for it was ridiculous. So anyway, here's a small clip here of the event as it happened. Okay, so take a look at this.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You know something, maniacs? I've been in this business for over 40 years, and the greatest part of my life was being part of this great WWE, guys. You know, I've had all kinds of tag team partners over the years, but you, the fans, have been my greatest tag team partner, because you guys have stuck with me through thick and thin, dudes. You know, I got a new tag team partner right now. I got Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer that I've teamed up. And in the past, I've had a whole bunch of partners down the line. I had incredible partners like, ooh, yeah, the Macho Man Randy Savage. I've had giant-sized partners like Andre the Giant. But the greatest partner that the WWE has ever had is the fact tonight we're making history, and the WWE is tag teamed up with Netflix, the greatest tag team partner of all time. So what you gonna do with the WWE? And Netflix runs wild on you, maniacs.
See what I mean? Wasn't a good thing. And, you know, I don't know. His name doesn't sell WWE anymore, so I think it would behoove Vince McMahon to sideline him from now on, or just say, okay, you're retired or whatever, you know, we don't need you, you know, because, you know, people today, they're not really interested in them old wrestlers from the 80s. I mean, it's just not their thing. It's just nostalgia for people my age who want to see these people still around. But, you know, this guy here, Hogan, he's stuck around too long. I think he's been around long enough to see himself become the enemy, and when that happens, you know you've been around too long. So anyway, there's another video here. Merrick Garland, he's going to decide whether or not to release all the findings and everything, report on Trump on his conviction. And people are wondering if he's actually going to do it, you know, because Merrick Garland, you know, oftentimes was very slow, you know, getting the ball rolling, and a lot of people felt he was trying to help Trump by delaying things. I certainly felt that way. And so here's a video here, these iHip News, and they're going to talk about that. So let's go to that video here.
Hip News, Pumps, what you got?
Well, it is do or die now for Merrick Garland. Jack Smith has prepared 2 binders full of a report based on his investigation into Trump's stealing of classified documents. and the January 6th insurrection. Trump's team naturally has sent a letter to Merrick Garland asking them not to publish the report. And I just want to say that reports by the special counsel are routinely made public. They're paid for with public funding. They are public record. So naturally, because Trump is guilty of sin, he is trying to block the release of that information. Well, in addition to sending a letter to Merrick Garland, Trump's attorneys, who are going to be appointed to the Justice Department, by the way, have made a motion with Aileen Cannon in Florida, who previously dismissed the classified documents case. But of course, she has made an order that the report should not be released, even though she doesn't really have jurisdiction. So what's going to happen? Will the report order from Judge Cannon be appealed to the 11th Circuit, which will obviously reverse it before the inauguration? Because after the inauguration, that report is gone forever. My thought is Merrick Garland should just release the report.
It's the least he could do.
The very least he could do. He has given this country the biggest dog shit reelected person because he didn't prosecute him in time. This is what, like you said, it's the least he can do. It is the bare minimum.
I have another idea.
Okay.
Some patriot right now that works for Jack Smith needs to leak this thing to the press like nobody's business. Get it out there. Send it. Just send this huge hickey out there and let his presidency start with him spiraling, because all of the dirty, horrible, awful things that he did are truly exposed. I mean, we've all seen enough, and enough has already been exposed, but I think every single thing he's done needs to be public, and it needs to be for public consumption.
I completely agree. And if it is not released, if Merrick Garland doesn't have the courage to release it, which, let's be honest, I don't have a lot of faith in that, I assume that the report will be destroyed. At least, hopefully he'll put it in the archives so that the next generation can read it, and at some point we can see it.
Pumps.
I know.
They can archive that all they want to. He will govern differently. It won't matter if somebody says, hey, it's archived. He'll say, I don't give a shit. Go get it and destroy it. And that will happen. I mean, this is right. That 1,000,000% will happen. If this is not released, it's gone forever.
I agree. And I think we do. Here's what cracks me up about the whole thing. His supporters, as he has said, he could walk down and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they wouldn't care. But he's trying so desperately to block it. His supporters are going to say, oh, it's fake news. Oh, it's Biden's Justice Department, all that stuff. But he sure is trying to block the report, which tells me it is very in-depth and shows his absolute culpability.
When I think about the fact that he stole classified classified documents from the United States government and took them to the Roach Motel that is Mar-a-Lago and had them stored in his horribly decorated restroom. And they kept saying, hey, we need our shit back. Hey, we need our shit back. And that went on for, isn't it like a year?
18 months.
18.
They begged him.
If Barack Obama, if Joe Biden, if any Democrat had stolen classified documents from the United States government and had them at their Fleabag Motel in Florida, the feds would have gone in and raided within 24 hours and said, fuck you, this belongs to the people. The fact that they dicked around with this thing for 18 months is why we lose elections. We govern differently.
I completely agree. And that is such a brilliant point. These belong to the American people. Give them back. You didn't give them back. Boom. We're coming in and taking them.
And he has like all of these, he has Viktor Orban hanging out with him.
Right.
Who's like direct link to Vladimir Putin. He's got Bolsonaro from Brazil going and hanging out. He's got the MyPillow guy, all these unhinged alcoholics running around Mar-a-Lago. And he had like massively classified stuff. And I believe, and you'll have to correct me, you may remember this, didn't he tell somebody from Australia,
yes,
some sort of like military type operation? And the person was like, I don't know that I should know this.
Right. The Australian billionaire was there, and he was telling that Trump was telling telling the Australian billionaire all about the military subs and what their capability was, like submarines. And he went back and was just like, what? What is happening? Like, he is the absolute worst because he wants everybody to think, I'm so great. He knows all this stuff.
Think about it for a second. He stole the classified documents after he lost an election, riled up all of his redneck supporters to go, barnstorm the Capitol. And then they find out after all of that he stole classified documents, military secrets, and they dithered around for 18 months. It's unbelievable. And then we're wondering why the Democrats lose, because the Democrats need to grow some fangs. If he's so dangerous and somebody shouldn't have our documents and somebody is hanging around with a bunch of crackhead adversaries of ours, you send the feds in much sooner. You give them one chance. We need these documents back right now. He says, no, we say we're coming in and we're getting them and we're arresting your ass and we're throwing you in jail. That's just how it should have gone down.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In other legal news for the president-elect, as we all know, he was convicted of 4 felony counts in New York, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's case. He is set to be sentenced January 10th. He wanted it to, of course, be delayed until, well, first of all, he wanted it dismissed forever. The judge said no. Then the judge said, we're going to go ahead and do it before the inauguration. Indicated there wouldn't be jail time, which is a disappointment, but I can live with that. So then he went to the New York court, the New York Supreme Court, in an interim emergency appeal to say this sentencing needs to be stopped. And they immediately responded and said, the motion is denied. So as of now, unless he gets an emergency order from the United States Supreme Court, which this is a state case, so I would think that would not be happening. But, we've got Aileen Cannon in Florida making orders about a Washington, D.C. case and a Florida case that she dismissed. So who knows? But as of right now, he's going to be sentenced January 10th. And again, he's a convicted felon. His supporters don't care. He's not going to jail. You would think he'd just want to get it over with. But then it's another opportunity for him to grift and be a victim, I guess. I just don't get it.
The fact that he does all of this stuff with impunity is so grotesque and disgusting. And then you hear the Republicans say stuff like, we're the party of law and order. And it's just like, shut up. It's so gross. And this man is such a stain on civilization.
He really
such
is.
A stain on the United States. And every single person that felt so justified in voting for him, I think, needs massive psychotherapy. I'm dead serious.
And as you're saying, it's a stain. That is the perfect segue to Trump gave a speech Tuesday, and he said, a reporter asked him, can you rule out using economic or military coercion to overtake Greenland or the Panama Canal? And guess what he said? No. What on earth is happening? I get the Panama Canal. I get that it's, they use it. Greenland. What are you doing with Greenland? Why do you give a shit so much about Greenland?
Well, I just read that he sent his dipshit cokehead son, Don Jr., to Greenland. And let's just have a hypothetical here. Let's say that Barack Obama's president and he sends Sasha or Malia to Greenland. Can you imagine the stage 5 meltdown all the flea bags would be having right now? Because I don't want anybody to confuse what MAGA is. These are parasites. Right. This is a parasitic cult, and they just suck off of people. They lie to the working class. They use their faith to manipulate them into supporting Trump. They riff-raff, knick-knack, sell them all the flea market shit that he does. And somehow they've convinced all of these flea bags that Don Jr. should be a voice that needs to be heard. Can you imagine, like, Don Jr. out in diplomacy meetings? I don't know if you remember this. During Trump's first term, Ivanka was at some probably like G7. I don't remember what it was, but it was in Europe, I believe. And there's all of these foreign leaders standing there talking. And Ivanka is standing there with them, and there's footage of it. And she keeps like interrupting and chiming in, and they're all kind of like looking at each other. And it was just so off-putting. I mean, these people are the worst impulses that every American has ever had. All of our character defects as a nation rolled up into one family. And this is who the majority of the American public have elected to represent us. These are not bright people.
No.
These are not smart people. These are transactional, white trash people that dress up and act like they're classy. They cosplay trying to be classy, educated people, and they're not. They are flea bags. This is a bottom feeder movement. It is going to be horrific to watch. And if we're going to put Don Jr. as a point man for diplomacy, we're so fucked. I mean, seriously, we got Elon Musk, Don Jr., Kash Patel. I can't even, it's too painful to even go through all of the potential nominees. And here's how precarious our situation is. When I think about everything going through the Senate, I know that there's got to be a few Republican senators that do a no vote. And when I think about who those senators could be, I think maybe Mitch McConnell. That's how
desperate.
That's how desperate the times are right now. Do you remember when John McCain, before he died, he went to the healthcare vote and he did the thumbs down? And I envision, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm like in the bargaining stage right now and I'm clinging on, but I envision possibly Mitch McConnell fucking Trump in the final days of his life in the Senate. And that's how desperate I am for some little glimmer of hope that somebody will do something right. The worst person imaginable, Mitch McConnell, could possibly help save the country. Do you ever have thoughts like that?
I have had thoughts like that, but then I remember what Mitch McConnell did.
Yeah.
And I just think that's not tethered to reality. Mitch McConnell is he allowed Donald Trump to use racial slurs about his wife.
Yeah.
Why would I put any stock in him having the ability to stand up and say no on behalf of the American people? If he can't defend his wife.
You're 100% right. These are just when we're not talking about it on the podcast and kind of smiling and getting through it, and I'm in the shower and I'm thinking, oh my God, we are so fucked. This is going to be so awful. Who's going to help us? I'm like, okay, all the Dems are going to vote a certain way. Which Republican senators can, prevent Tulsi Gabbard? Which Republicans can prevent Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth? And I'm like, Mitch. But then I know, Mitch is the biggest piece of shit on the planet. He loves the cruelty of it, loves it.
Well, and, it kind of goes back to where we started the episode with Merrick Garland having some courage to release this report, the volumes that Jack Smith collected about Trump and all of his criminal behavior. Like, I have hope that he's going to release it. And then I remember reality shows he's not going to do it because he doesn't have the balls.
Reality shows that Merrick Garland's a pussy.
100%. Probably would have been a great Supreme Court justice.
No.
You don't think?
No.
Better than AG.
No. Well, listen, we have to get fighters in there that vociferously fight for human rights, that vociferously fight for democracy. Merrick Garland is really nice. I would hire him to watch my dogs. I think he would do a very good job taking care of them. I think that they would be nurtured and fed and all of this stuff. Fuck no, not on the Supreme Court. The only reason Obama picked him was because he wanted to put a moderate to show the Republicans, look, we're picking a moderate. I'm not picking a liberal. This was all appeasement by the Democrats to defer to patriarchal systems. It should have been a liberal. It always should have been a liberal. That's what you get when you're a president. You've won 2 terms, and that seat was stolen by Mitch McConnell, who I just stupidly said that sometimes I have a Hail Mary pass that maybe he will help us. But one final thing before we close, I do want to say the most patriotic thing that Merrick Garland could do would be to release all of this, every single bit of it, or have it leaked to a journalist Not anybody at the Washington Post for sure.
For sure,
but
no.
ProPublica or something like that. Release it all. And this helps some of these Republicans when I'm in the shower, like dooms washing.
Going through your list.
Yeah, going through my list of how are we going to get through this. It helps some of these moderate Republicans say the information that came out in this was too damning and his approval rating's already tanking. It helps give them some cover to not acquiesce to all of Trump's demands. And I think we desperately need that because at some point he is going to be treated as a lame duck, and it will happen sooner rather than later.
I agree, and I hope you're right, but
I'm probably wrong. I'm just sitting here saying I'm throwing up a prayer to Mitch McConnell,
Right.
and I'm a liberal atheist.
that's
Okay, so don't give any credibility to a word that I'm saying, Pumps, okay?
Right.
That's how desperate I am.
we're desperate.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. It's so entertaining to have them.
All right, so would it matter, I wonder? This is my question. Would it matter if he did? If Garland did release all that stuff? If the courts actually said he could release that? Would it matter to them? I mean, after now, I mean, he's Trump's elected president-elect. I mean, he's going to be president. And people have been running interference for him. He's got other judges like Cannon in his pocket to help him dodge bullets and stuff. And since he's got a base of supporters out there who could care less, you know, that he's a convicted felon, would it matter? I think the only people that it would matter to are people like me who you comment on everything, okay? Because it gives us something to look at and say, oh, you know, this, and then just spread it around, okay? The average person, you know, or someone who just, you know, isn't that into the political thing, they're not going to care. They've already made up their mind about Trump, whether they like him or not, okay? If they don't like him, this report certainly isn't going to alter their opinion of him. If they do like him, again, same thing. It's not going to matter because they won't look at it, you know, because that's what MAGA do. They ignore the facts and they stick to their beliefs because it's a cult. So, if he chooses, you know, not to do that, I mean, I feel like, you know, it's no big loss because let me tell you this. His first time as president was bad, okay? His first time as president, and that's always going to be public record. The shit that he didn't do and the crap that he did do. That's always going to be there enough to judge this man. So we know that his second time as president isn't going to be any better than that. So do we really need that to decide whether or not he was a, you know, piece of shit or not? No. Okay? We don't. We are, if you understand the facts when you watch the hearing, okay, with Liz Cheney and all them talking about it, if you watch that, okay, then you got everything you needed to know about Donald Trump, about the January 6th event, okay? You got everything you needed to know. It's no big leap in logic, okay, to say that he was capable of doing this and all these other things, okay? That's how crooked he is, because he's the only president that's ever incited a riot against his goddamn country, okay? The only one. And so he, you know, like I said, anyone that does that, I mean, clearly they're corrupt. And they don't need to have mountains of evidence to back up that opinion. Okay? Just look what's in the damn history books. I mean, that his record to date is really shit. He's never accomplished anything, you know, of any consequence to the majority of the people in this country. Never. He's hated by other countries who, you know, he's not even president of. Okay? And in all this, you know, in a very short period of time, he's able to do that. He's got Canada mad at him, Mexico, Panama. He's even got, you know, UK not really happy with him. You know, there's a list goes on. Okay, all our allies practically don't even like him because he's a braggart and he likes to bully and threaten and make people nervous, and he wants to be the person everybody's afraid of because he thinks you lead by fear. That's what he wants to do. And, you know, other countries don't like that because we've been running things in the world without having to deal with personalities like that. And when they pop up, it's usually in these countries that are not allied with us, these Middle East countries, or China, or North Korea, or Russia. Okay, usually that kind of personality will pop up in places like that, where democracy isn't that important. But here, in the allied countries, NATO and all that, we expect our leaders to have some grounded root to reality and have some measure of intelligence in order to do their job. We didn't hold Trump to that bar, okay? He's not rooted in reality. He creates his own world, all right? He's not that intelligent, at least not enough to be a politician. I mean, he's not even that intelligent to be a businessman because he's failed at that so many times. So what other qualifications does he have, to be president? I could ask MAGA that question all day long, and they couldn't really answer that, I don't think any of them could. All you're going to get from them is their personal belief that he's going to do this and that. And guess what? Their personal beliefs have been chopped down one by one here since the election was over. Trump has come out and said a lot of things that he's going to not do that he said he was going to do. So whatever they believed he was, they're slowly seeing that belief shattered and crushed before their eyes. So like I said, to ask them, what you see in this man that makes him qualified to be president, they couldn't answer that, okay? They just couldn't. And that's because they didn't do their fucking job as an American. They just picked somebody that entertained, them, and sounded like he was on their level when he was pretending, but they fell for it. And that shouldn't be surprising either, because every year people fall for scams, okay? Whether it's over the phone or on the internet or some other way, people are always victim to scams because a lot of times they're not paying attention. They don't have the common sense to know when they're being lied to, all right? And it seems like there's more people like that today than there ever was. I'm not sure why that's happened or what creates that problem, but somebody has to do something about, people's gullibility. What do we do? How do we teach people how to spot bullshit when they see it? I don't think we could do anything for the adults. I mean, adults are stubborn. At a certain age, they think they know everything. And you try to teach them something, it's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks. They're going to be resentful. They're going to be mad. They're just not going to listen, okay? But maybe we ought to grab a hold of our youth and start hammering more to the critical thinking and spotting bullshit kind of things to teach kids common sense, because that goes a long way, especially if you're intelligent, to be able to avoid a lot of pitfalls. So I think there really needs to be some discussion about that in our society, about how we can enlighten our society to be a little more mindful of their surroundings, so I think that's what we ought to do. Anyway, let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
We know what we saw. We know what we heard. It wasn't spontaneous. They came prepared for battle. Body armor, chemical weapons, zip ties. Their mission, to overturn an American election.
We will never concede.
Outnumbered, brave law enforcement officers fought hand to hand to save our democracy. Many were wounded. One died the next day. Post-traumatic stress syndrome drove 4 January 6th heroes to suicide. Donald Trump calls this violent terrorism a day of love.
That was a day of love.
He's promised to pardon these violent criminals. That's wrong. Evil.
Those people have suffered long, hard. And I think it's very unfair.
Don't let one man rewrite history. We know what we saw. We know what we heard. There are no alternative facts. Only the truth.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back. Okay, so there's this other story I want to talk about. It's from Business Insider, written by Jennifer Soar. It was published, what's today? Published yesterday at almost 7 o'clock last night. Okay, it says, Russia's economy has a dire demographic problem on its hands, and the nation could see its population slashed in half by the end of the century, as Atlantic Council report says. The report from the Washington, D.C. think tank, written by Harley Balzer, a professor emeritus at Georgetown University, points to Russia's long-running population decline. The nation's overall population growth has shrunk over the past 10 years, according to World Bank data. That decline has been exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine war. More than 300,000 Russian troops have died so far or been injured by the end of 2023. U.S. intelligence officials estimated, and about 1 million Russians have fled the country after Vladimir Putin ordered the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The demographic trend spells trouble for Russia's economy, which is already dealing with a severe worker shortage. At the end of 2023, Russia was short a record 5 million workers, according to an estimate from the Russian Academy of Sciences Institute of Economics. Russia has turned to migrant and even prison labor to supplement its workforce, but those aren't sustainable solutions to its population problem, Balzer says. Putin's government has not evinced visible concern that Russia's population might be cut in half by century's end, unless Russia's leaders can develop and finance a more effective set of policies. The only solutions to population decline will be a combination of incorporating non-Russian territory and or immigration from Asia and Africa, unquote, Balzer said in the report this week. Quote, as Russia's population continues to decline, immigrants will be increasingly vital to economic recovery, unquote, he added. Experts have said a shrinking population could result in several problems for Russia's economy, such as lower growth and productivity. The Atlantic Council previously predicted that by 2026, Russia's economy could fall behind Indonesia, where the population is rising. Quote, Putin's choice of timing for military aggression in Ukraine might have reflected in understanding that Russia's demographic and economic situation would not improve in the next 2 decades. However, the war is turning a growing crisis into a catastrophe, unquote, the recent report says. Russia's economy isn't on solid footing to begin with, particularly as its invasion of Ukraine grows more costly and damages its economic ties to global markets. One UC Berkeley economist previously told Business Insider that Moscow was on track to fall into a severe recession by the end of the year, pointing to Russia's collapsed energy trade and its waning access to the U.S. dollar. Well, so in other words, it's not a good time for Russia to be doing this kind of warmongering here with Ukraine. But Putin's not going to stop that. Even in the face of what, I mean, if this much information is accessible to Business Insider, can you imagine what the real numbers must be? Because, Russian information usually doesn't come truthfully, and they like to play the propaganda game over there. So if that much is getting leaked out to show that they're having trouble, I'd say that the situation here is even worse than that. Okay. Of course, I've been kind of following here and there on different places online that talk about what's happening in Russia, and these are people who live in the border countries around Russia, and they're getting information from other people coming in and out of there, and the things they're saying, the population, people really upset with Putin that he's putting this war ahead of everything else, and people are seeing food shortages in the stores, and the prices of what is in the stores going up and making it harder for people to buy food. And people are already saying that before the year 2025 is even half over, they're going to have a problem with people starving in that country because they can't afford food. And of course, you know, any protests against this war, against Ukraine, that's happening in Russia, not being told, they're keeping that hidden. And there are people that don't want this thing to go on. They from the very beginning, they didn't want this war to happen. But you're not going to hear much about that being said unless you get this information, you know, from sources that are, you know, broadcasting in other countries, okay? Certainly by the time, you know, you think about trying to get somebody in the United States to get that information, it's usually all twisted up and everything. So, you know, from what I gather, you know, people over there are pretty upset, but they feel like they can't do anything. And, you know, it's an old story over there about people living in that country. I mean, you go back when it was the Soviet Union, you know, and people were oppressed then, and they're still oppressed today. It's just, you know, these people are always being beaten down by their government all the time, and they're almost like used to that. So they feel like there's nothing they can do, you know, and so they suffer. And yeah, a severe recession, you better believe it. There's probably going to be one, and it's not going to be too far down the road. In fact, probably might even start before the end of this year. But so, and at the same time, though, I see some of what's happening there mirrored here, or going to be mirrored here in this country, especially when it comes to, you know, when they were talking about using prison labor to pick up the, you know, the jobs that the migrants are going to be, you know, doing, or something like that, you know, because they got manpower shortage over there. So they're going to look to people to do those jobs, and hey, they've already been using prisoners to fight in the war. They've been drafted to serve in the military, and that's why a lot of nasty things have been going on in the Russian army. You know, they're going into villages and they're raping and killing and murdering. A lot of these things are being done by people who were taken out of the prisons and drafted into fighting in the service, okay? And, you know, here's another thing about this. I mean, I don't know how many people realize this, but people who fight in the Russian army are responsible, okay, for getting their own equipment. They have to buy it themselves. The Russian government doesn't do that like we do here in this country for our troops. No. These people are required to buy their own ammo, buy their guns, everything. I'm thinking, how the hell does an army like that even exist? You know, when the people are poor to begin with, and they're drafted into the military, in the Russian military, and they're told, well, you got to get your own uniforms, you got to do... It's not a wonder their military is so antiquated, okay? And, you know, it seems laughable that Russia will hail their military as so great and all that, but yet they won't spend a fucking dime on their own military, okay? They won't even feed them. These people have to go grab food out of people's homes when they raid the cities and feed themselves, you know, because they don't even have money really to buy food. So they're kind of reduced to being like rabble when they're out on the field, because these people are starving. They're soldiers and they're put out on the field and they're starving, you know. And at the same time, you know, they always have shortages of ammo and guns and stuff. I mean, that's kind of the way they fought in World War II, believe it or not. Remember how they were saying, you know, you have to, if they didn't have enough guns to give everybody, so they would pair these people up. One had a gun, the other one didn't. And when that person was shot and dead, you'd pick up his gun and you'd continue. They didn't have enough guns to go around to arm the people. Their military was always shit from way back then, okay? And if it hadn't been for the United States who got in from behind and started kicking the Germans' ass, Russia back then would have been part of Germany. They would have lost that war if NATO hadn't got in there, or whatever, you know, the allied countries hadn't have gone in there and started stirring up shit to cause Germany to pull back, you know, out of Russia. But they lost so many people in that war. More than Christ, more than anybody else in the war did, the Russians. They were losing people, you know, ridiculous number, because they didn't have a very good military. Okay, they couldn't really fight toe to toe with the Germans, and so things haven't changed much. You know, I mean, yeah, they got nuclear bombs. That's really their only claim to being a superpower, is that they have nuclear weapons. You take those weapons away from them, they're a third world country. They don't have an army really to really worry about. Okay, because their army is antiquated, their equipment is 20 or more years old. You know, they don't have much of a navy to speak of. I mean, they've been getting rid of all their fucking submarines. Okay, so, you know, they're really, I mean, like I said, it's really sad that, you know, a country will do that to its people, throw them into a fucking war, you know, that nobody wants, and that you've got a very little chance of winning. I mean, Ukraine should have been a pushover country for a superpower, but it hasn't gone that way, has it? It's been going on for what, 2 years now, more? And so these Russians, they're losing all kinds of Russians. I mean, yeah, the Ukraine is losing a lot of people too, but they're holding on to their territories. And despite Putin's threats, despite, you know, him trying to do different tactics and stuff, he ain't gaining nothing. Okay? And this is going to be like a quagmire, like when they tried to go into Afghanistan and they got their asses handed to them there. It's going to be like that. They're going to try and fight this out till the last man, until a new leader comes to power and they put a stop to it. Who knows how long that'll be. But at the same time, though, it's just, you got people in the Russian government who are, how can I say it? You know, they're trying to find ways to profit off of this war, doing shady deals and stuff like that, as this goes on. So you have that element going on behind the scenes. I don't know. It's pretty nasty, but, you know, I was hoping that this would have been over, you know, long back, but, you know, it really hinged on the rest of the world, the NATO countries, to help Ukraine. And because this war has been going on too long for a lot of people, they're sick and tired of trying to help Ukraine, but yet there's this other conflict going on and they want to divert our resources to that. It's like, well, if you're tired of the fighting, why is it all of a sudden you have new energy and charisma here to go and stick your nose into that? Okay? And that's because of messaging, obviously. That's because the right wing is out there backing Putin, okay, and saying that, you know, we got to help Israel. We got to help them out, okay? That's the reason why that's going on, and it's, you know, it's easier for them to just, you know, close the door on Ukraine and go into Gaza, you know. But that's what's going on with that. So anyway, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, and share. Keep your ears open for any health-related matters, and just be careful out there on the roads. Be safe, and treat each other nice. I'll talk to you guys later.